An overwhelming number of horrible calamities and anomalies have flooded this world. In the midst of all this chaos, the hero of this story has gained the unique ability to summon a door, leading to countless other worlds at any time and in any place. There he can train and level up across the universe to become the strongest. Though beyond that door, not only other worlds await him, but also something much more horrible. So how did it all begin? Let's find out. In a hospital room, the MC wakes up to find a strange metal door hovering in front of him. It has no visible support, simply hanging there in midair, making him wonder if it's some kind of elaborate magic trick. Gathering his courage, he reaches for the handle and swings the door open. The moment it opens, he is violently sucked inside. He stumbles forward into a long, dark, blood-stained hallway. The sight is unsettling. An entire corridor hidden within a floating door, shrouded in darkness. Hesitantly, he calls out, asking if anyone is there. To his horror, a low growling sound echoes back, followed by the wet, sickening noise of something chomping on flesh. Suddenly, a monstrous skeletal abomination emerges from the shadows, gnawing on a human corpse. Panic grips him, and he turns on his heels, sprinting for his life. He leaps back through the door and slams it shut, locking it in sheer desperation. Breathless, he presses his back against the door, muttering frantic apologies for disturbing the creature. Then, without warning, the door vanishes into thin air, leaving him in stunned silence. As he struggles to process what just happened, a deep voice suddenly speaks, congratulating him on awakening an ability called World Link. The voice claims that it has finally found him. His eyes dart around in terror, searching for the source. The voice, however, assures him that it is trapped in another world and is communicating through telepathy. It warns him that if he wants to survive, he must follow its instructions. Confusion swirls in his mind as he wonders if it's telepathy. He has never encountered anything like this before. The voice orders him to open his bag and take out a creepy-looking statue. He does as instructed and pulls out a small horned skeleton figurine. The voice reveals that it is a cursed statue, deliberately placed near him to kill him. Fortunately, he survived. Suddenly, his mind is flooded with memories, revealing a shocking truth. His current body belongs to a middle schooler named Shenye. But what happened to the original soul? Well, let's just say it was mangled by the statue's curse. At that exact moment, the MC's real body in another world died from overwork, and his soul was transferred into Shenye's body. The voice explains that if the curse fails to kill its target, it instead grants them unimaginable power. As Shenye watches, the statue begins to crack. The voice suggests he try summoning the door again, as it now belongs to him and can appear at will due to his World Link ability. According to the voice, Shenye has also earned the title of Polite Person as a result of his respectful behavior when entering the door. This title comes with a small bonus. When he is polite to others, they will have a slightly better impression of him. Shenye realizes that this ability seems to be a passive skill. As he processes everything, the voice warns him that its energy is about to run out. It urges him to be careful, as whoever placed the cursed statue will likely return. Desperate for answers, Shenye yells, demanding to know who the voice belongs to. However, it only tells him that it needs his help and reveals the name of the world he stumbled upon. The Nightmare Realm. The voice explains that it is trapped in that world and wants Shenye to free it, promising to repay him someday. With that, the voice falls silent, leaving Shenye in shock. He barely just reincarnated into this world, and someone already wants him dead. Yet, according to his memories, he has no known enemies. Thinking it over, he decides to keep the Polite Person title for now, hoping to find a better one later through the door. Summoning his courage, he resolves to enter once more. If the skeleton attacks, he plans to bolt out immediately. He knows he stands no chance against the creature with his current strength, but maybe, just maybe, he can communicate with it. If negotiation is possible, he might be able to strike some kind of deal. With those thoughts in mind and his Polite Person title in effect, Shenye steps through the door, coming face to face with the mighty skeletal beast. Standing in front of the monstrous skeleton, Shenye takes a deep breath and introduces himself, activating his Polite Person skill. The creature pauses, staring at him in confusion as Shenye politely apologizes for interrupting its meal earlier. The skill seems to be working. The skeleton simply stands there, listening. Encouraged, Shenye takes it a step further and asks if they can be friends. Big mistake. The moment the words leave his mouth, the monster lunges at him, swinging with full force, trying to smash him to pieces. Shenye barely dodges the attack, stumbling backward asking if it was really necessary, only to be ignored as the skeleton roars and swings again. The attack misses him, but crashes directly into the floating door behind him, shattering it. In the last second, Shenye manages to leap through before it disappears. He realizes something crucial. If the door is destroyed in the Nightmare Realm, it vanishes entirely. On top of that, his Polite Person title is pretty much useless in a fight. Frustrated, he checks if he can change titles, only to discover an annoying restriction. He can only equip one title per day. That means he's stuck with this one until tomorrow. With no other choice, he summons the door again. If the skeleton keeps guarding it, he won't be able to do anything. And on top of that, the assassin who used the cursed statue could show up at any time. He needs to act fast. Back in his past life, Shenyi was a top-tier salesman, and if there's one thing he knows, it's how to close a deal. This time, he steps into the door with determination, ready to negotiate with the skeleton. Unfortunately, the moment he walks in, the enraged monster roars and destroys the door again. Shenyi, however, doesn't stop and comes back with another door, explaining to the skeleton that he can summon doors all day, so it would be better for them to talk. The skeleton destroys the door again, but Shenyi swiftly reappears through another one, asking if the skeleton is ready to make a proposition. This time, instead of destroying the door, the skeleton, visibly annoyed, turns away and begins to leave. As the monster walks away, Shenyi mentions its left arm and other bones, which appear damaged. Hearing this, the monster stops. Shenyi continues, explaining that he can offer something from his world called calcium tablets, which will help the skeleton heal its bones rapidly. He then proposes a deal. He will provide the tablets in exchange for the skeleton's friendship. Shenyi adds that in his world, they are willing to take bullets for their friends, so buying some calcium tablets for the skeleton wouldn't be an issue. After explaining all this, he asks for the skeleton's answer. To his shock, the skeleton quickly turns around, charging a plasma ball in its hand as if preparing to attack. Shenyi braces himself to retreat through the door, but is surprised when he realizes the skeleton is actually offering a contract. Intrigued, he reads through the contract and is impressed by the skeleton's serious credentials. However, he is taken aback when he notices ellipses after the skeleton's name. The contract states that the skeleton is merely a 5th Division Battlefield Acquisition Officer, also just a low-ranking pencil pusher. The terms of the contract are based on equal exchange, in which the skeleton requests Shenyi's help to regain its strength. It claims that it never makes contracts with humans, so Shenyi must understand its rarity. The contract also includes a clause that it can be terminated at any time. However, Shenyi is more surprised by the skeleton's grand and heavy-sounding title. Shenyi accepts the contract, and with that, a surge of energy is unleashed. A while later, Shenyi's mom and dad arrive and take him to their apartment. They seem loving and deeply concerned about his health. His mom suggests he take some rest, while his dad brings the calcium tablets Shenyi had asked for. Seeing his parents, Shenyi is momentarily taken aback, as in his past life, he was an orphan. As they are talking, there is a knock on the door. It's the East Precinct Police arriving to investigate Shenyi's case. The officer reveals to them that accidents like this happen every year, and as a result, they can't do anything about it. He pretends to be excited about Shenyi's recovery, but Shenyi himself realizes the truth. He is not the real Shenyi. The original Shenyi was killed by some monstrous entity summoned by the curse. As this unsettling realization sinks in, Shenyi questions the police, asking if such crimes are always left to fate. The second officer sympathizes with him, but explains that the higher-ups have ordered the hospital to be abandoned so that there will be no future victims. Shenyi's eyes drift to the officer's badge, where he notices 3 stars. Despite the officer's young appearance, Shenyi quickly recognizes that he holds the rank of sergeant. Shenyi, feeling a bit nervous, thanks the officer and admits that he is worried because someone is targeting him. The officer dismisses his concerns, arguing that he is just a middle schooler and that, even after a thorough investigation, they found no one holding a grudge against him. With that, the officer turns and leaves, while Shenyi is left with a chilling realization that the police and even the government see the curse of the Viken Ghost King statue as too troublesome to deal with. Even they prefer to keep their distance. But what confuses Shenyi the most is why someone would use such a deadly curse on a middle schooler like him. Before he can dwell on it further, the sergeant unexpectedly returns, handing him a card with his robotic hand. He tells Shenyi to call him directly if anything feels off. Shenyi hesitates as he is confused by the gesture. He glances down at the card and reads the sergeant's name, Luo. For the first time, he considers that not everyone here might be useless. However, a new conflict stirs within him. Should he trust Luo? It seems like the sergeant isn't entirely following police orders. And if the police and government can't do anything, what can a single sergeant possibly do? More than that, whoever is after him will inevitably find out that he is still alive as the news is already out. If they were willing to curse him once, they could target him again, or worse, go after his family. Shenyi clenches his fists, realizing if he wants to protect those around him, he needs to get stronger, fast. With determination and the calcium tablet bag in his hand, he summons the door again and opens it with his professional sales smile. Inside, he calls out to the skeleton monster, which emerges from the darkness at his command. As Shenyi offers the calcium tablet bag, The skeleton instead points toward his pocket, where a tonic is stored. Shenya asks if it wants the tonic, and the skeleton summons a scroll to confirm it. In return, it offers an item from its collection, taken as war spoils. According to the skeleton, it is a lower-tier nightmare crystal crafted by high elves, capable of directly instilling knowledge and skills into the user. Finding the crystal intriguing, Shenya takes it, excited by the prospect of gaining knowledge and skills. As he absorbs it, the crystal integrates into his body, triggering a notification that reveals he has learned Moonlit Deerwalk, a technique used by elven soldiers. This skill allows him to evade, dash, and sidestep attacks with agility. Absorbing the skill, Shenya is thrilled. With just a simple tonic, he has gained a powerful technique, finally giving him a way to defend himself. The skeleton takes the calcium tablets and retreats into the darkness. Shenya feels a bit confused about the monster hiding in the dark despite their contract, but he decides to ignore it for now. He needs to practice Moonlit Deerwalk first. However, just as he steps out of the door, he hears his mom and dad returning home. Once inside his room, he checks the notification and reads that Moonlit Deerwalk, first form, evasion requires 3 agility points to use, and at least 1 agility point to even access the ability. Realizing this, Shenya compares it to a video game, where stats increase and abilities unlock as a result. As he processes this new information, a strange voice suddenly interrupts his thoughts, questioning how he is still alive after everything. Turning quickly, he sees a creepy-looking assassin hanging upside down from his window, yelling at him to show what he's made of. The assassin instantly leaps at Shenya, who dodges by jumping to the side. Upon landing, the assassin praises Shenya for his agility. The assassin is armed with a muffled pistol and a dagger, and seeing this, Shenya realizes that the assassin has come for his life. Shenya initially activates his polite person skill and politely asks if he can help the assassin with something. Annoyed, the assassin slashes at him, but Shenya dodges again by sidestepping. After being attacked, Shenya realizes his polite person skill didn't work. The crystal, however, has granted him knowledge that allows him to see the ranks of his skills, techniques, and titles. Gray means broken, white is normal, while green, blue, and purple range from excellent to rare. The higher the rank, the stronger the skill. Currently, Shenya's polite person skill is at the broken rank. Dodging the assassin's follow-up attacks, Shenya realizes his skills are useless at this moment. Shenya braces himself, waiting for the bullet, when another notification appears. It reveals that he can trade his titles for status points. The higher the title rank, the better the points. Shenya immediately consumes his polite person title and allocates the points into agility, which jumps from 2 to 3, making his Moonlit Deerwalk skill usable. As the assassin is about to shoot, Shenya activates the Deerwalk skill, leaping off the wall and, in a flash, jumps through a summoned door. The assassin, shocked, follows him but is stunned to find himself in a creepy, dark dungeon. Suddenly, Shenya appears from behind and closes the door, trapping the assassin inside. From the darkness, the skeleton monster lunges out and bites the assassin's entire body. It begins chomping on him while its arm heals from all the calcium it is consuming. Outside the door, Shenya takes heavy breaths, realizing how close the encounter was, and wonders if more assassins are coming. He knows he needs to find a way to defend himself and learn some defensive skills soon. As he is thinking, a scroll summons, revealing that his sacrifice has pleased the other party. Following the principle of equal exchange, the other party offers 2 items in return: the Pale Shadow Crown and the Silver War Medal. The crown, ranked as excellent, allows the wearer to disguise themselves as a member of the elf race, while wearing the medal will teleport the wearer to elven territory. Reading this, Shenya gets excited, claiming that the skeleton has truly shown its value in trading and is showering him with goods in return for the sacrifice. Without wasting time, Shenya puts on the crown and suddenly transforms into an elf. He becomes thrilled, admiring his new appearance as a beautiful elf, and decides to venture into elven territory the next day after acquiring another title. As he tests the items, someone arrives at the door asking for him. This makes Shenya wonder if it's another assassin. The voice on the other side of the door, hearing Shenya's voice, feels relieved that he is all right and introduces himself as Chen. Shenya remembers Chen as his close friend and recalls that the day he went to the hospital was to visit him. As he opens the door, Chen instantly leaps at him, crying and apologizing for dragging Shenya into this mess. Shenya, with trembling words, assures him that it's not his fault and that it was just bad luck. Shenya's mom also arrives and greets Chen. Seeing him, Shenya asks about his dad, to which she explains that he went to Grandpa to get the super tonics and asks if Shenya has taken one. Shenya confirms that he has taken one, and hearing about the super tonic, Chen is shocked. According to him, it's pretty rare, so their family must have really good connections. Chen then reminds Shenya about the high school exams that he needs to prepare for. This shocks Shenya as he remembers that the original owner of the body was a high schooler, meaning he will need to take those exams. Due to the curse, he might have already missed the first exam. Chen becomes teary-eyed again, blaming himself for getting a brilliant student like Shenya into this mess and causing him to miss his exam. Shenyi's mother reassures Chen that even though Shenyi missed the strength exam, he can still perform well in the agility exam, which will help him get into a decent school. This makes Shenya realize that in this world, exams are different. They test someone's skills and stats rather than traditional academic knowledge. However, Shenyi's concern is not the exam itself, but the fact that he is being hunted at the moment, and going out to school would put a target on his back. As he nervously thinks about not taking the exam, his mother notices the worry in his eyes and hugs him tightly. She assures him that if he doesn't want to take the exam, it's fine, as they just want him to be safe. Shenya, feeling the motherly love he never experienced in his past life, reassures her that he is strong and that she doesn't need to worry. Despite saying this, Shenya knows that if he agrees to give up the exams, his mother would support him, but he can't bring himself to do that. You see, Shenya's entire family, including his grandfather, seems to hold significant importance and influence. However, Shenyi's parents have a terrible relationship with his grandfather and the rest of the family. They have never asked for help before, but since Shenya requested the tonic, he knows there's no way his parents could have afforded it on their own. They must have begged his grandfather for it. Additionally, their real son, Shenya, is already dead, which makes it even more important for him not to let their efforts go to waste. As it gets late, Shenya asks his mother to prepare a snack and begins munching on it. The next day at school, Shenya is a bit taken aback as he reads through the curriculum, which seems vastly different from what he was used to. However, he also feels a sense of safety in the school. There are plenty of people around, and he hopes that if he does well, there will be powerful teachers who can help him grow. As he is going through the material, a student approaches and informs him that Zhao is looking for him in the hallway. Recognizing the name, Shenya remembers her as the original body's friend, the one who constantly pestered him about studying. When he finds her, he greets her politely. Zhao tells him that she is hopeful about doing well in the upcoming exam and aims to make it into provincial elite high school. Shenya is excited for her, but to his surprise, she suddenly tells him not to come looking for her anymore. Other students in the hallway overhear the conversation and immediately start mocking him, teasing that he just got dumped. Zhao, remaining calm, explains that since they will be going their separate ways soon, they can't continue as they used to. However, she reassures him that they can still be friends. Shenya, irritated, can't believe she's acting this way just because he missed one exam. To make matters worse, she even deletes his contact right in front of him, wishing him good luck in his future endeavors before walking away. Shenya argues that Zhao was the one who came looking for him all these years, and he never actively tried to be her friend. She was the one who always sought him out because he was at the top of the class. The crowd, hearing this, starts chattering about how Zhao always tried to get close to Shenya when he was at the top, but now, after he missed one exam, she is trying to ditch him. Suddenly, Zhao's friends appear out of nowhere, defending her. Shenya doesn't even know who they are. Hearing his words, Zhao turns around with tears in her eyes, claiming that she thought they were friends. However, Shenya knows she is shedding crocodile tears and coldly states that while he accepted her gifts, it doesn't mean he accepted her. This comment hypes up the crowd, as they are excited to see Shenya fighting fire with fire. Shenya turns around, calling her out for trying to bind him with gifts, and claims that if she wants her gifts back, he will pay for them. With that, he shows her his middle finger, declaring that they were never friends. The crowd cheers, impressed by Shenya's boldness, finally seeing a main character who isn't a simp. Zhao's friends, furious, yell at Shenya while Zhao stands beside them, shedding tears. The entire crowd sides with Zhao, calling Shenya out for embarrassing her and treating her so harshly. Meanwhile, Shenya puts his fingers in his ears, pretending not to hear them. Zhao, however, insists that they aren't done talking, but her friends urge her to let it go. Zhao, who had intended to dump Shenya, now feels as though she's the one who got dumped, and everyone witnessed it, tarnishing her reputation. As Shenya tries to leave, a big guy steps in front of him, blocking his path and ordering him to listen to what Zhao has to say. Shenya, annoyed, recognizes him as the number 3 student in their class and tells him to move aside because class is about to start. The big guy, Sun, grows angry, revealing to Shenya that while he was gone, he has grown much stronger. He declares that Shenya is no longer at the top of their class and warns him to apologize unless he wants his bones broken. Shenya agrees to apologize, arguing that Zhao was the one who asked him to come talk to her. He then turns to Zhao and apologizes with tears in his eyes, claiming he ran off because he was overwhelmed. The onlookers are shocked to see him crying and looking heartbroken. Even Zhao feels emotional and reassures him that she wasn't trying to force him. However, despite Shenya's seemingly devastated demeanor, Sun chases after him and tries to punch him from behind. Shenya, with lightning reflexes, backflips into the air, kicks Sun in the head, and lands gracefully behind him. The entire crowd is left in shock at how swiftly he executed the move, wondering what would have happened if Shenya had put more power into the kick. Shenya, surrounded by the aura of his deer walk skill, coldly states that he already apologized and doesn't understand what Sun wants from him. As the hallway erupts into chaos, a teacher interrupts, calling everyone to the field for the mock exams. The students hurry to the field, though many are disappointed they didn't get to witness a full fight between Sun and Shenye. On the field, as Shenye stretches, Chen arrives and points out that there's a long line for the test, suggesting they go to a nearby comic shop while waiting. Shenye, however, has other plans. He wants to earn his new title for the day, and this is the perfect opportunity. Excusing himself to use the restroom, Shenye walks down a desolate hallway, unaware that someone is following him. An assassin holding a pen engulfed in dark energy. The assassin enters the restroom only to find it empty. Meanwhile, Shenye has used his pale shadow crown to transform into an elf and slipped through a summoned door. Inside, he finds the assassin's pistol, already loaded, and considers it the perfect tool to defend himself in the elven territory, even though he's never used a gun before. Taking out the Silver War medal, he activates it, summoning a bright blue portal beneath his feet. As the portal begins to channel, he hears the same deep voice from before calling out to him. The voice reveals that it no longer has enough power to assist him and hands Shenye a token. Before Shenye can fully process what's happening, he vanishes into the portal. Shenye is teleported to a serene forest, leaving him wondering if he has truly arrived in elven territory. He notices the dagger in his hand, the one given to him by the mysterious deep voice, but he is confused about its purpose. As he ponders this, a group of elves approaches him, addressing him as Fren. Shenye is surprised by the name but plays along, claiming that something came up, which is why he is late. He observes that the three elves are wearing the same crown as him, meaning they are also disguised as elves. One of the elves confidently reveals that they have already gained the trust of the elven tribe, who believe they are heroic soldiers recovering from injuries. The man explains that they plan to strike that night, kill the elven chief, and seize the treasure. He asks if Fren is ready for the mission. Shenye, pretending to agree, tries to take off the crown, claiming it itches too much. The moment he touches it, the group panics, yelling at him not to remove it, as doing so would expose his undead identity and ruin their plan. Shenye apologizes, saying he was just adjusting it. But with this trick, he confirms that the three are undead. To lower any suspicion, Shenye confidently assures them that he won't let anything go wrong. Internally, he realizes that the skeleton monster is the Fren they are referring to, and the mission has been dumped on him. As they rush toward the village, Shenye struggles to keep up, realizing just how strong the undead are. When they reach the outskirts of the village, the undead instruct Shenye to enter by showing his badge. Once inside, he is to assassinate the chief while they provide cover from outside. Shenye, nervous, asks if they really mean for him to handle the assassination alone. This shocks the group, thinking he is backing out, but Shenye quickly backpedals, claiming he can't wait to taste the chief's blood on his dagger. Hearing this, they give him a thumbs up, but Shenye knows that refusing would likely result in his immediate death. He also realizes that assassinating a chief in their own stronghold will be incredibly difficult. The undead escort Shenye to the village gate, where they show the Silver War medallion to the guards. Seeing it, the guards allow them entry, believing they are soldiers from the front lines. A guard escorts them through the village, proudly introducing the countless families and beauties who live there. When they reach a door, the guard requests they enter, as the chief is expecting them. The undead stay behind, urging Shenye to proceed as planned. Shenye walks in, realizing he has been caught up in an undead elven war. On the other hand, if he succeeds, he might earn an incredible title. As he enters a dimly lit room, he notices the chief reading a book. The chief welcomes him, referring to him as a frontline soldier. Suddenly, a notification window pops up, revealing that Shenye now has the ability to read someone's titles. When he uses it on the chief, he is shocked to see multiple high-level titles. In contrast, Shenye's only title is Polite Person. This realization makes Shenye nervous, as he understands that the undead might have overestimated his capabilities. Now it's a face-off between a polite person and a powerful elf with dozens of titles. The chief begins by thanking Shenye for his service as a soldier and warmly welcomes him to the village. Suddenly, the chief summons a teleportation portal beneath Shenye, transporting him to a grand celebration banquet hosted in the village. The other undead are already there, eating and mingling. Seeing Shenye, they explain that the chief will join them soon, and he needs to strike when she lowers her guard. They assure him they will create a diversion for him to attack. However, Shenye realizes that by diversion, they mean a way for themselves to escape in the chaos. This looks like a suicide mission, and Shenye knows he needs to come up with a plan. As he debates his next move, a cute elven girl approaches him, requesting a dance. She expresses her honor at dancing with a hero from the front lines. Shenye hesitates, admitting he doesn't know how to dance, but she takes his hand and assures him she can lead. They dance gracefully, though Shenya remains nervous, thinking that if this weren't a suicide mission, the dance would be blissful. He knows he needs a plan to save himself. The girl, holding Shenya's arm, notices his worried expression and asks if it's due to the horrors of the war front. Shenya denies this, claiming he just feels bad for being a terrible dancer. He then asks for her name, and she introduces herself as Lane. Hearing her name, Shenya offers to perform a magic trick for her as an apology, which excites her. As Shenya prepares to show her the trick, Lane hands him a bracelet in gratitude but warns him that if the trick isn't impressive, she'll take it back. Shenya agrees. Standing at the table, Shenya calls everyone's attention, claiming he will perform a magic trick they've never seen before, a transformation magic. He declares he will transform himself into a human, which excites the elves, as they've never witnessed such a feat. The undead, however, grow uneasy, unsure of what Shenya is planning but hoping he's clever enough to blend in with the elves. To perform the trick, Shenya removes his crown, revealing his human form. The crowd erupts in cheers, amazed that he has transformed into a young human. Lane, equally impressed, asks him to change back, but Shenya claims that his brothers, the undead, can also transform, but once they remove their crowns, they will reveal their true undead forms. Hearing this, the crowd turns hostile, drawing their weapons on the undead. Shenya, seizing the moment, summons a door and steps back through it, claiming he will change back into an elf after his brothers perform their transformation. As he steps inside, he bids farewell to Lane, and the door magically vanishes, leaving everyone stunned and enraged. The elves immediately turn their attention to capturing the undead, trapping them with powerful roots. Suddenly, the chief appears, revealing that she already knew the undead had infiltrated the village, but was unaware that a human was among them. The undead, still trying to deceive the elves, claim to have badges, but the chief swiftly removes their crowns, exposing their true undead forms. She explains that the crowns carry a shadow spell that allowed the undead to infiltrate villages with their spies. Now that the elves have the crowns, they know how to counter the spell. The chief looks to where Shenya's door had been and remarks that she owes him one. Inside the door, Shenya feels relieved to have escaped the dangerous situation, but is surprised to notice that the door's appearance has changed to match its surroundings. He spots the skeleton monster there, casually munching on something, and starts yelling at it for not coming to his aid. The skeleton, confused, asks if Shenya is still alive. Shenya, realizing the skeleton can speak human language, lashes out, accusing it of sending him to die by giving him the crown. Despite Shenya's yelling, the skeleton ignores his rant and asks again how he managed to survive, even offering to pay him for his efforts. Shenya responds by flipping the skeleton off, shouting that he doesn't want payment after nearly getting killed. However, the skeleton interrupts, offering him the skill of necromantic spell in exchange. Shenya pauses, still angry but intrigued, and sets the offer aside for the moment. The skeleton summons a dark orb and explains that it sent Shenya to the elven territory with the crown because humans and elves are allies. If the skeleton had gone itself, it would have been killed. To make amends, the skeleton offers Shenya a nightmare crystal as a gesture of goodwill. The crystal contains 3 top-tier evolutionary necromantic innate abilities, and Shenya can choose one to merge with his own being. The skeleton elaborates that innate abilities can be used without relying on mana, making the crystal incredibly precious to the undead. The skeleton adds that the only reason Shenya is still breathing is because the undead wanted the crystal for its stability, which is why they haven't killed him yet. Shenya, now somewhat interested, forgives the skeleton. As he absorbs the crystal, he is suddenly teleported to a dark realm. In this realm, Shenya is taken aback by the sight of a skeleton king sitting on a grand throne. 3 glowing orbs hover in front of him, each radiating immense power. A deep, mysterious voice, seemingly coming from the skeleton king, speaks, informing Shenya that he can choose one of the 3 orbs, each of which will grant him a unique ability. The first green crystal reveals the ability to extract information from the dead. The second offers a bone that grants 5 seconds of invincibility, and the third is a key that can resurrect a corpse using its power. Shenya carefully considers his options. He realizes that the key is useless to him at the moment, and the bone's 5 seconds of invincibility isn't enough to make a significant difference. The green crystal, while seemingly weaker, could provide crucial information, especially about who is trying to kill him. With that in mind, Shenya chooses the green crystal. As he selects the crystal, his body is transported back to the door's hallway, where the crystal begins to merge with him. The skeleton, seeing him return, is shocked that Shenya picked the green crystal, as it doesn't immediately enhance combat power. The skeleton remarks that all the past necromancer lords chose the other 2 options. It then asks Shenya what happened in the elven territory. Shenya recounts everything, and the skeleton is stunned to learn that the original target was a female high priestess, but Shenya was sent to the chief, the most powerful high priest there. Hearing this, Shenya understands why the chief had such formidable titles. The skeleton sighs in relief, revealing that with the 3 undead knights captured, there's no one left to threaten it. Seizing the opportunity, the skeleton monster quickly retreats into the darkness, leaving Shenya confused but unfazed. Shenya steps out of the door, earning the title, One of Us. This title, ranked as excellent, grants him a unique skill. When he says, "Hey, we're on the same side," to a target, they will consider him an ally for 10 seconds before forgetting everything. The skill can be used once per day. Shenya is thrilled by the title's potential. His attention then shifts to the Nature's Blessing bracelet given to him by Lane. It's an excellent rank item that passively increases the wearer's spirit power. As Shenya walks back to the field, he marvels at how much he's gained in a single run. A dagger, a title, a bracelet, and a pistol. However, he now needs to find a way to stash all these items before anyone notices. At the field, the agility test is underway, and Chen is next in line. As the test begins, Chen dashes through the course, while Shenya cheers him on from the crowd. Chen, noticing Shenya's support, thanks him and feels confident about his performance. However, he suddenly gets hit by the water, earning mocking laughter from the onlookers, who tease him for being cocky and getting instant karma. The teacher scolds Chen for his low score of 71 points and calls Shenya, who is next in line. When Shenya's turn begins, he flashes through the course with incredible speed and precision. The onlookers are stunned by his smooth, almost ice skating-like movements. They can't believe how agile he is, especially after just recovering from the hospital. Meanwhile, Shenya finds the course surprisingly easy, as he only needs minimal footwork to dodge the water obstacles. In the distance, the school principal and director Qian are observing Shenya's impressive performance. The principal proudly claims that Shenya is their top student and urges Qian to give him another chance since he missed the first exam. Qian praises Shenya's agility but insists on seeing how he performs in the psychic power test before making a decision. The entrance exam tests both strength and psychic power, and Qian sets a high bar, expecting a perfect score in psychic power from Shenya. As Shenya completes the course, the instructor is moved to tears, revealing that Shenya has achieved a perfect score in the agility test. After the announcement, the instructor calls for a break. Chen, excited by Shenya's impressive performance, offers to grab some fries together. Shenya, however, suggests they clean up first and meet in the classroom afterward. In the empty classroom, Shenya feels exhausted as he tries to read through the strange history and literature books, which are completely different from what he knew in his previous life. In his mind, it feels like 2 sets of memories are clashing, giving him a headache. Suddenly, Sun disrupts Shenya's thoughts by kicking his table. Sun is looking for revenge, but Shenya remains calm and asks if Zhao sent him. Sun brushes off the question, claiming that Zhao wants nothing to do with him. With his friend standing behind him, Sun brags that his strength has broken through to 2 points and challenges Shenya to see if his 2 agility points can compete. Shenya, thinking quickly, activates his One of Us skill by saying, "We're on the same side." Instantly, Sun and his friends transform into allies and reveal everything to Shenya. According to them, Zhao begged them to get back at him. They admit they didn't want to get involved and that it was all her idea. Shenya feels relieved to hear that these guys aren't after his life. However, the 10-second time limit of the skill runs out, and they suddenly revert to their bullying behavior. Realizing that he can only use the One of Us title once per day, Shenya decides it's useless for now and devours it, gaining 3 stat points. He instantly allocates these points to his strength. To his surprise, he also discovers that he can reallocate the points he previously assigned to agility. He shifts all 4 points to his strength, maximizing it. As one of the boys jumps forward, grabbing Shenya in a headlock and demanding he face Sun like a man, Sun charges with his fist fully loaded with power. However, when Sun's fist connects with Shenya's abs, Sun lets out a piercing scream, clutching his now broken hand in pain. In this world, the average untrained adult has a base strength and agility stat of 1. However, Shenya, now with a strength stat of 4, is effortlessly handling his bullies, slamming them left and right. This strength stat isn't just about raw muscle power, it also strengthens bones and muscles, making the person incredibly durable, almost like a tank. The other bullies, seeing Shenya beat the crap out of Sun, are terrified, realizing he has far more strength than Sun. As Shenya takes down each bully one by one, he complains that they made him late for class and ganged up on him out of petty jealousy. Walking up to Sun, Shenya lifts him by the neck and coldly states that if this had been any other student, or even the old Shenya, they would have ended up in the hospital by now. Sun, dangling in the air, pleads and apologizes desperately. However, Shenya isn't quick to forgive, as they tried to bully him and ruin his career. With that, he slams Sun against the wall, making him scream in pain. The commotion is heard by students outside, prompting teachers to rush in and investigate. When the teacher arrives, he is shocked to find Shenya crying and claiming that the bullies were harassing him, while all the bullies are lying on the ground, beaten up and bloodied. The teacher is confused. Shenyi clearly overpowered them, yet he's the one crying about being bullied. Other students, including Zhao, are left stunned by the scene. Zhao, in particular, is sweating nervously and checking her messages, confirming something. Seeing this, she sighs in relief, knowing that her plan has already been set in motion. Zhao feels a slight regret seeing how strong Shenyi has become, but she knows there's no turning back now. According to her plan, Shenyi caused a scene by injuring 8 students, which will be enough for the high school to revoke his exam eligibility. With this, Zhao's goal of ruining Shenyi's life is achieved, and her future now looks wide open. As she ponders this, she turns to her friend and casually remarks that she still thinks Shenya is a loser. Zhao then notices Sun's beaten-up face, his tear-filled eyes locked on her as he struggles to say something. She realizes he's trying to drag her into the mess and silently wishes he would just die so he can't expose her. On the outside, however, she acts deeply concerned, pretending to be worried about him. As all the students are stunned by Sun's condition, Zhao seizes the opportunity and storms out, crying and claiming she's going to call the cops on whoever did this. Despite her act, Shenya sees right through her, silently acknowledging how clever she is for throwing him under the bus. The instructor, seeing the situation escalate as students begin calling the police, tells everyone to return to their classes. He then calls Shenya to his office to address the incident. In the hallways, the school principal is busy trying to convince the director to sign off on a few of their students, claiming they are top-notch. However, the director rejects the proposal, stating that those students don't meet the minimum standards, and there's nothing he can do. Just as the director is about to leave, a school faculty member rushes in, informing the principal about the fight. The principal initially brushes it off, as he's preoccupied, but the faculty member shows him the CCTV footage of the incident. Watching the video, both the principal and the director are shocked. Even the police are surprised to see that Shenya single-handedly took down all the bullies. The video clearly shows Shenya overpowering them, which leaves the police confused. Shenya, standing in front of them, claims that he acted out of fear. The police respond that despite the video evidence, he must come with them, as the situation now depends on an injury assessment. The instructor, however, argues with the police, pointing out that Shenya has already missed one exam, and if they take him away, he might miss another. He insists that the video is sufficient for the investigation. While the instructor debates with the police, Shenya quietly adjusts his stats in the background, preparing for whatever comes next. Soon the principal and the director arrive in the room. The principal declares that, given the severity of the injuries, Shenya will likely be expelled. Director Chen, however, observes that Shenya is physically far beyond their league and, after watching the video, even speculates that Shenya was holding back during the fight. Shenya confirms this, admitting that he restrained himself because he was afraid of killing them. Impressed, Director Chen hands Shenya his business card, expressing his desire to talk further, as Shenya seems worthy of his recommendation. Shenya reads the card and is shocked to discover that the man standing before him is the regional director of the Human Martial Arts Group. This organization holds all the knowledge and books about martial arts, and for an ordinary person, gaining entry is like winning the lottery, a one-way path to greatness. Shenya, observing Qian, realizes that the man is completely impenetrable. No matter how much Shenya tries to assess or distribute his stats, he knows he couldn't lay a finger on Qian. Qian, with a cigarette in his mouth, asks Shenya about his strength number, estimating it to be at least 4.5 according to the Cyranic system, which accurately assesses a person's overall capabilities. Shenya reveals that his strength is actually 5, while internally wondering what it would be like to become a student of someone as powerful as Qian. Hearing this, both the principal and the instructor are shocked, while Qian is visibly impressed. Shenya, somewhat puzzled, asks if having a strength of 5 is a big deal. Qian explains that for a middle school student, a strength of 4.5 is enough to catch attention, but Shenyi's strength of 5 allows him to operate certain combat mechs and wield standard-issue ancient weapons. Qian offers Shenya a retest for his strength if he decides to join him, ensuring that his talent isn't overlooked. Shenya excitedly accepts the offer, and Qian prepares to leave, assuring him that someone will be in touch to make the necessary arrangements. He also advises Shenya to prepare for the retest. As Qian is about to leave, he turns back and asks Shenya about his psychic power stat. Shenya, with an excited expression, reveals that it's 3, thinking it might be impressive. Hearing this, the cigarette falls from Qian's mouth, and everyone in the room is stunned, their eyes wide with shock at such a high score. To test Shenya, Qian asks him to move a chair in front of them using his psychic power, which would prove his abilities. Shenya agrees, and by allocating his 3 psychic points, easily lifts the chair. Seeing this, the police officers decide they've had enough. They realize they don't want to mess with Shenya, as he is clearly destined for greatness with such extraordinary stats at such a young age. They leave, deciding they can't deal with him. Shenya, after holding the chair up for a few seconds, drops it and claims that it's his limit, downplaying his abilities to avoid drawing too much attention. Seeing this, Qian is visibly excited and starts singing praises for Shenya. The others present are also amazed by how well Qian sings, though Shenya finds the whole situation a bit strange. Qian asks everyone to excuse them, as he wants to have a private word with Shenya. Once they're alone, Qian asks Shenya about his life goals. Shenya responds that Qian himself is his goal, which flatters Qian, but he insists on knowing what Shenya truly wants. Thinking about the assassination attempts on him, Shenya reveals that he wants to become strong enough to protect himself and his family. Qian finds this answer wise and assures Shenya that today is the day he can start achieving that goal. Qian then asks Shenya to attack him. Misunderstanding, Shenya starts trash-talking, calling Qian a greasy old man. Qian quickly corrects him, explaining that he meant for Shenya to attack him with his fists. Realizing this, Shenya reallocates his points to strength and, with all his might, sends a punch toward Qian. However, something stops him mid-attack, leaving him immobilized. Qian explains that this is a technique used to immobilize an attacker, and Shenya should learn it to better protect himself. To demonstrate further, Qian takes out a pistol from his pocket and shoots himself in the head. To Shenya's shock, the bullet stops just inches away from Qian's head. Qian explains that even a sniper would be no match for this technique. Hearing this, Shenya remarks that there are no attacks that can't be countered and no defenses that can't be broken. Qian finds this saying profound and invites Shenya to join their Hidden Dragon project, a program within the organization dedicated to cultivating rising stars. Qian reveals that they will recommend Shenya to 3 of the best high schools in the world, but before that, he must pass a rigorous exam specifically designed for these prestigious institutions. These schools cater to noble families who possess ancient knowledge, wealth, artifacts, and bloodline pacts. These families also control vast tracts of land, which separates them from common folk by an insurmountable chasm. Hearing this, Shenya realizes that his grandfather might be from one of these noble families. Qian continues, explaining that the Hidden Dragon Project is essentially a talent hunt among common people, aiming to bring exceptional individuals into these elite academies. He tells Shenya that if he manages to pass the exam, he will have the choice to attend any of these schools, which will practically transform his future. Additionally, once Shenya reaches his peak, he will return to the organization and work for Qian and his team. Reflecting on the importance of strength in this world, Shenya accepts Qian's invitation. He now realizes that his family was once part of a noble lineage, but after his grandfather banished them, they became ordinary people. So ordinary that even the police wouldn't risk helping them. Shenya's parents had to beg his grandfather for the tonic, highlighting their fall from grace. However, today, because Shenya has gained power, he has risen above the rules. When he hurt someone, the police didn't even take action against him, further proving how strength changes everything in this world. Qian takes out a tablet and asks Shenya to provide his fingerprints and signature to proceed with the formalities. As Shenya takes the tablet, his mind is still preoccupied with the realization that strength is the key to survival in this world. Qian informs Shenya that other organizations will likely reach out to him with offers to join them, so he is welcome to take his time and think it over. However, Shenya has already made up his mind. Since Qian helped him, he will join his organization. This excites Qian, but he quickly hurries out, explaining that he needs to get permission from Shenya's parents first, as Shenya is still a minor. Qian rushes off, claiming he doesn't want any other organization to reach out before he secures Shenya's commitment. With that, he leaves in a flash, leaving everyone stunned. Shenya is particularly shocked at how Qian disappeared in the blink of an eye. The principal and instructor, curious about the meeting, ask Shenya what happened. Shenya reveals that he signed with Qian, which excites both of them. Suddenly, Shenya's phone rings from an unknown number. When he answers, Police Sergeant Luo Feichuan informs him that he has uncovered some information about Shenya's situation and needs to meet him at the police station immediately. Shenya arrives at the police station, where Sergeant Luo asks him to take a look at something he's just received. Even before seeing what Luo has to show, Shenya feels an unsettling presence creeping in as he steps inside. There's a heavy, almost suffocating atmosphere lingering in the air. Luo shows him a picture, one taken by accident, that captures the day of Shenya's incident. In the image, a suspicious figure stands on top of the hospital. Luo asks if Shenya recognizes him, but after zooming in, he realizes he has no idea who the man is. According to forensic experts, the figure appears to be trying to activate something. Luo then asks if Shenya was carrying anything unusual that day. The question catches Shenya off guard. He was indeed carrying that cursed statue, the one with a dark and wicked aura. But if Luo doesn't already know about it, revealing the truth would only bring more trouble. Keeping his expression neutral, Shenya denies noticing anything strange. Luo, however, finds it odd that Shenya didn't experience any physical symptoms. No choking, no sudden loss of control, no blackouts. Shenya plays along, insisting nothing unusual happened, but deep down, he knows Luo is onto something. And then, there's the other feeling. Ever since he stepped into the office, Shenya has sensed a dark presence, like a shadow lurking just beyond sight, waiting, watching. It's as if something, or someone, is anticipating a signal to strike. Shenya suddenly reacts as if a realization just hit him, and claims that his backpack was left open when he woke up. Luo, with a hint of suspicion in his voice, asks if he checked inside. Shenya shakes his head, replying that he really should check it now. As he brings up the detail about his bag, he notices something. Luo's hand moves ever so slightly, as if he's about to act. A wave of caution washes over Shenya. Just to be safe, he quickly reallocates all his stat points to agility, preparing to bail if things take a turn for the worse. But a lingering thought is still in him, wondering if he could even outrun Luo. The man seems to have insanely high stats. Staying on edge, Shenya subtly shifts his stance, ready to summon the door beneath his feet at a moment's notice. If anything goes wrong, he can just open it and disappear. Then, out of nowhere, the sudden ringing of the telephone nearly sends him jumping out of his skin. His reflexes almost kick in, and he nearly opens the door by accident. Seeing the call as a perfect chance to slip away, Shenya quickly excuses himself. But before he can move, Luo firmly insists that he stay put while he answers. Suddenly, Luo stiffens, his expression twisting in shock as a voice on the other end of the line speaks, coldly, that it's time for Luo to die. The moment those words are uttered, a blast erupts, striking Luo square in the chest. Shenya immediately realizes that this might be an assassin, but the attack seems to have specifically targeted Luo. Reacting quickly, Luo uses a defensive technique, the same one Qian had taught Shenya, to block the attack. As he regains his footing, Luo recognizes that the attacker is right outside the police station. Without hesitation, he smashes through the window and leaps out. Shenya watches in shock as the station's alarm blares, warning that an intruder has breached the premises and advising all non-combat personnel to find a safe spot. However, as Shenya looks outside, he is shocked that where there should have been a city, he now sees an endless ocean and a massive, eerie graveyard stretching before him. Shenya notices a man standing atop a tombstone, holding a staff. He seems to be the same person who made the call, but his appearance doesn't match the one in the photo. The man reveals that he is here to take revenge for his church members, whom Luo had murdered. However, Luo, standing before him and referring to him as boss, brushes him off, saying he is busy. The man, unfazed, declares that Luo's life is the best explanation he can offer. As he begins channeling energy into his staff, Shenya is suddenly transported back to the city. Both Luo and the mysterious man are gone, leaving Shenya worried that Luo is now stranded in that strange, alien place. At the same time, Shenya senses an eerie presence, as if someone is hiding nearby, creating illusions. Suddenly, his necromantic ability activates, allowing him to communicate with the dead. A notification claims he can ask the body anything he wants, shocking Shenya as this means there must be a corpse hidden somewhere inside Sergeant Luo's office. As he processes this revelation, a voice from behind him suddenly thanks him, sending chills down his spine. The voice claims it never expected to return to its decaying shell just to answer questions. The sound comes from inside a cabinet, and as Shenya opens it, he discovers something terrifying. Sergeant Luo, brutally slain, with wires piercing through his body. With trembling words, Shenya asks Luo how this happened. Luo reveals that the man in the photo was an assassin who caught him off guard. At a critical moment, Luo's weapon malfunctioned, allowing the assassin to strike and kill him. Afterward, the assassin impersonated Luo to lure Shenya into the station. When Shenya asks what the assassin was looking for, Luo explains that he was searching for answers. It now makes sense to Shenya. The assassin tried to kill him, but was interrupted by another lunatic seeking revenge for his fallen church members. Shenya then asks about the assassin, who was taken by the man wielding the staff. However, Luo looks confused. Shenya explains that the area outside the station turned completely red, shifting into something different, and then reverted back. But neither the attacker nor the assassin returned. Luo, now understanding, explains that this was an anomaly. He describes it as an event where another world connects with their own, enclosing, infecting, and consuming an area. In the worst cases, these anomalies escalate into something far more dangerous: calamities. Calamities occur when a powerful monster suddenly appears from another world, bringing the potential for widespread devastation. Luo asks if Shenya has heard about Jiangnan City, to which Shenya confirms he remembers hearing that an earthquake wiped the entire city out. Luo reveals that this was a textbook example of a calamity. Among the 13 million people who lived there, not a single soul survived. Lu then warns Shenya to act quickly, as the anomaly he just experienced was a minor one with a time limit, meaning the killer might return soon. Hearing this, Shenya is struck with fear, realizing he is in imminent danger. Luo provides him with a code for the armory panel and instructs him to write it on the wall of the armory using a special pen he will find inside. He adds that once Shenya reports the truth, he will receive protection, so he must act fast. As he finishes speaking, the spell dissipates, signaling that the other party has shared everything they know. All of this makes Shenya realize why the other officers were too terrified to get involved in his case, one that had already claimed an officer's life. In this world, if someone isn't strong enough, they are simply useless. Placing the hat back on Sergeant Luo's head, Shenya understands that there might be accomplices of the assassin within the station. He decides to follow Luo's orders and reach the armory safely. After closing the cabinet, Shenya thuds his head against it, overwhelmed by the thought that he might not be strong enough to avenge Luo. However, his determination burns brighter that he will find a way, no matter the cost. Lost in his thoughts, he is suddenly startled by a knock. A voice calls out from downstairs, informing him that he is needed for screening. An anomaly has just occurred. As the door opens, the captain steps in, accompanied by several police officers. They call out to Shenya, informing him that there has been an attack and that everyone must report to the cybernetic central system for scanning. The captain instructs the others to head down while he stays behind to speak with Luo and Shenya. As the officers leave, one of them continues calling for Shenya, assuring him that if Luo is the one affected by the spell, he will be safe. Besides, they are all officers. They will take good care of him. Slowly, the captain steps into the office, scanning the room. However, his attention sharpens as he notices that Luo's body has been moved. A surge of alertness kicks in, and in an instant, he whips around, searching every corner of the room. Yet, Shenya is nowhere to be found. This frustrates the captain, knowing that other assassins will ridicule him for letting Shenya slip away. Pushing aside his irritation, he steps out of the office and issues an immediate citywide alert, ordering all units to be on the lookout for Shenya, now a prime suspect in the incident. As the captain leaves, an announcement reveals that the cybernetic central system has completed its environmental scan, and everyone must assemble for inspection. Waiting until the coast is clear, Shenya steps out of hiding, realizing that his suspicions were correct. The killer had accomplices within the station. Determined, he knows he could escape into the nightmare realm, but he refuses to run. These killers need to be taught a lesson. With that resolve, he jumps out of the window and climbs up to the 3rd floor, where Luo said the armory was located. Inside, he quickly spots the special pen. Wasting no time, he begins writing the code on the door. However, just as he is finishing, the captain catches him in the act. Holding a weapon in his hand, the captain demands to know what Shenya is doing. Caught off guard, Shenya nervously stalls for time, forcing a grin as he jokes that he is just writing an assignment on the door. The captain's eyes widen in shock as he realizes what Shenya is writing on the armory door. The activation code. This isn't just any security mechanism, it's directly linked to the World Government HQ. Someone like Shenya shouldn't even know it exists, let alone have access to the code. Without hesitation, he hurls his weapon at Shenya with full force. But in the blink of an eye, Shenya summons his door, positioning it as a shield. The weapon collides against it, but instead of shattering, the door adapts to its surroundings, shifting its material to absorb the impact. Annoyed, the captain grits his teeth and kicks the door with all his strength, sending it hurtling toward Shenya. But just as it's about to hit him, he vanishes it instantly. Now furious, the captain charges forward, closing the distance in seconds. However, just inches away from his target, Shenya summons the door once more, this time directly in the captain's path. Unable to stop in time, the captain slams face first into it with a loud thud. That brief moment of distraction is all Shenya needs. Without missing a beat, he finishes writing the code. The passcode is verified, and an announcement from the world government's top AI reverberates through the area. The AI declares an emergency assessment, scanning the vicinity and locating the body of Sergeant Luo. It confirms the false identity of Captain Wang, exposing him as an imposter. The AI announces that it has dispatched the nearest high-ranking practitioner, Manager Qian, to execute the imposter. The AI grants Captain Wang a mere 30 seconds before his execution. Hearing the announcement, Captain Wang's mind races. He believes Shenya is behind this betrayal, and sneers that 30 seconds is more than enough time to kill him. As Shenya attempts to summon another dimensional door, Captain Wang flashes behind him in a blur of motion, seizing Shenya's wrist. With a surge of power, Captain Wang sends a devastating punch hurtling toward Shenya's face. But just as his fist is inches away from impact, Manager Qian arrives in a flash of speed. With a single, crushing blow, Qian fists Captain Wang with such force that his body is blasted apart, splattering across the area. With a smirk, Qian casually repeats Shenya's earlier words about fast attacks. The AI, now openly mocking, remarks that the captain really thought it would count down for 30 seconds. Shenya, still processing what just happened, can't help but think that what Qian just did was pretty damn cool. At the National Security Bureau office, Qian questions Shenya about how he obtained the passcode. Shenya lies, claiming that Luo gave it to him earlier. According to Shenya, Luo was being hunted down and entrusted him with the passcode in case anything happened to him. Hearing this, Qian realizes that Luo might have known about Silent Church as well as the hitman after him. When Shenya asks about Silent Church, Qian explains that they are an organization, and the recent anomaly is linked to them. He describes them as a group of psychopaths, and speculates that Luo may have crossed paths with them while working on a case. As Shenya brings up Luo's death, Qian sympathizes, remarking that Luo seemed like a man with a strong sense of justice, and that whatever killed him must have been something truly dangerous. He adds that Shenya is lucky as the assassin sent to kill him was intercepted. Qian then reveals that they captured the assassin who tried to attack Shenya, but they turned out to be just a member of the League of Assassins, mercenaries who take online contracts. Because of this, they have no way of tracing who hired them. Shenya, processing this information, remarks that whoever was able to hire such a skilled assassin must be someone with serious money. Qian agrees but questions why anyone would want to assassinate a middle schooler. Shenya, still deep in thought, shifts the conversation, asking about the World Government Center AI. He wonders why Luo didn't use it when he needed help. Qian explains that the system only intervenes in major incidents and requires a special passcode to activate. Luo never used it because he had no idea his weapon had been compromised. At that moment, Qian's assistant steps forward, carrying Luo's robotic hand, his weapon. The assistant reveals that a virus had been planted inside it, rendering it completely inoperable. However, the moment Luo died, the weapon started working again. This could only mean that someone close to him had sabotaged it. Hearing this, Shenya finally understands why Luo had mentioned that his weapon malfunctioned. The realization is heartbreaking. Luo, an officer who had tried to protect and help him, had died without ever getting the chance to fight back. As Shenya is lost in thought, Qian speaks up, telling him that as part of their group now, he must remember his first lesson. The lesson is simple but crucial. He should always be wary of people with ill intentions, as they are far more terrifying than monsters. Shenya nods with determination. After that, they leave as Qian has arranged a meeting with Shenya's parents. As they walk out, Shenya asks about the other two individuals who were in the anomaly. Qian reveals that specialized personnel have been assigned to handle the situation. Hearing this, Shenya questions why Qian himself isn't dealing with it, considering he seems quite strong. This prompts Qian to explain that entering the anomaly brings back terrifying consequences. He recalls an incident where someone returned, only to be an empty shell with something unknown living inside him. That entity wiped out half their city, which is why only specialized personnel are allowed to handle such cases. As they talk, Qian suddenly realizes something and quickly calls someone, instructing them to run a background check on a person named Xiao to determine her connection to Luo. The response on the other end makes Qian's face turn pale. Meanwhile, Shenya notices his reaction and wonders who Xiao is. It seems she has some kind of relationship with Luo. At Shenyi's house, his parents request some time alone to discuss matters with their son. Qian excuses himself and steps outside for a smoke, leaving them to talk in private. Once he is gone, Shenyi's mother reveals his father's history, explaining that he was originally from the illustrious Sanjin Shen clan. Hearing this, Shenya realizes just how extraordinary his background is, as he remembers reading in history books that the Sanjin Shen clan was one of the few families to inherit divine powers and artifacts. His father was once a prodigy, but he suffered a chi deviation while practicing, causing him to lose all his strength. Adding to that, he had refused an arranged marriage set by his father, which led to his exile from the family. After that, he and Shenya's mother started a peaceful, normal life, and raised Shenya away from the clan's influence. The reason they are telling Shenya all of this now is because of his abnormal talent. If they return to his grandfather, he will undoubtedly agree to welcome him back, granting him access to vast resources and privileges. However, if Shenya chooses to join the human martial arts group, he will lose that opportunity forever. Faced with the decision, Shenya thinks for a moment before deciding to join the martial arts group. His parents are both surprised by his choice, though his mother remains calm and asks if he is certain. She assures him that if they ask his grandfather, he will help. However, Shenya is firm in his decision. He doesn't want to rely on old family ties. If his parents could carve out their own path, then he believes he can do the same. Despite their feelings, Shenya's friends claim to respect his decision. As he goes to fetch Qian, he knows he can't send his parents to his grandfather's place. Every time they visited, they were met with cold shoulders from both his grandfather and the rest of the family. The only fond memories Shenya has are of playing with the other family children. In his past life, he faced hardships within his family, but in this life, he has found love and support. When they meet with Qian, he is pleased that they have agreed to sign the contract. He informs them that Shenya will be taking part in the entrance exam for top-tier schools in a few days, and wants him to stay at the group's facilities in the meantime. Shenye's mother has no objections, which makes him excited for the opportunity ahead. Meanwhile, in the school hallway, Zhao is feeling triumphant. Her videos about Shenye, labeling him as a failure and mentally unstable, are trending, and everyone is talking about them. Smirking, she fans the flames of her propaganda, convinced that after ruining his image, he won't be able to get into any school. Just as she revels in her success, her phone buzzes with a notification. Her post has been flagged for spreading fake news and misinformation, and the martial arts group is preparing to take legal action against her. She stares at the screen in disbelief, shocked that they claim Shenye acted in self-defense. But what baffles her even more is wondering about what does the martial arts group have to do with any of this. The principal also celebrates Shenye securing a position in the human martial arts group. Realization fills her with despair. She had been so close to success, even sacrificing Sun for it. Now, she is in utter disbelief at how he managed to secure a place in the group. Meanwhile, at the human martial arts group building, Chen receives a police report detailing the recent battle that resulted in many deaths, though they managed to capture one of the culprits. Shenye, with him, wonders if the situation is truly bad, only to discover that Qian has just received 5 merit points for it. These points serve as currency to acquire special items, techniques, and weapons. However, since he does not yet hold an official job title, he hasn't received any direct compensation for providing intel. Just then, Shenye receives a notification. He has been granted a reward from the world government's rank management department for his contribution in capturing the culprits. The reward is waiting for him at the main entrance of the building. Curious about what it might be, he turns to Qian, who speculates that it is most likely a high-level combat technique. This excites Shenye, as he could really use offensive skills right now. As they make their way to the main hall, a group member approaches Qian, informing him that they have successfully handled the rumor-spreading videos about Shenye. Shenye is treated well as soon as he arrives, with his first paycheck already transferred into his account. A member guides him to his room, where he is greeted by a woman on the screen, Mulan. She congratulates him on joining and expresses her gratitude for his support. She advises him to study and train diligently so he can grow into a powerful figure. Before signing off, she surprises him with concert tickets. Seeing that Shenye realizes that she is the favorite celebrity of the body's previous owner, Shenye is stunned to realize that everything in the room, from the flowers and paintings to the books and even the snacks, aligns perfectly with his tastes. The effort the group has put in for a mere recruit makes him fully grasp the privileges that come with strength. Later, he ascends to the top floor of the building and is awed by the sight of being above the clouds. However, he quickly reminds himself that he must train. His entrance exams are in just 2 days, and failure is not an option. As the clock strikes midnight, Shenye opens the nightmare door and steps inside. However, the moment he enters, he is shocked to see the shattered remains of the skeleton monster scattered across the ground. Realizing the danger, he takes a step back as he knows he can't rush in recklessly, or he might lose his chance for the title evaluation. Suddenly, a weak voice breaks the silence. The skeleton monster is pleading for help, claiming that he is dying. Hearing this, Shenye grows worried, admitting that he doesn't know how to heal. The skeleton desperately begs for the tonic from last time, urging him to hurry. However, Shenye apologizes as he doesn't have any left. At this, the skeleton falls into despair, accepting that his end may have finally come. But before he can give up entirely, Shenye dashes out, telling him to hang on while he figures something out. His motivation isn't purely out of kindness, as after all, the skeleton is a valuable trading partner. Left alone, the skeleton waits for 2 hours, yet Shenye doesn't return. After a while, Shenye rushes back, sweating, and reveals to the skeleton that he spent every last coin he had to create a giant fish tank filled with calcium, magnesium, and other essential minerals. He is hopeful that soaking in it will restore the skeleton to full health. However, a new problem arises. How are they supposed to get the skeleton into the tank? As they contemplate a solution, the entire nightmare hallway suddenly begins to crumble, sending a shock through Shenye. The skeleton, seeing this, quickly explains that humans and elves are breaking in. The hallway, it turns out, is a secret passageway leading to their undead stronghold, and the attackers are launching a full-scale assault. Too weak to fight, the skeleton hastily hands Shenye a special ring, instructing him to hide him inside it. Without hesitation, Shenye follows the instructions, absorbing the skeleton's body into the ring. Just as he does, a powerful explosion erupts from the entrance, obliterating the door. It was dangerously close. Had he been even a second slower, both he and the skeleton would have been wiped out. Catching his breath, Shenye examines the ring, wondering if the skeleton is truly inside. A moment later, the skeleton confirms it, revealing that the ring has the ability to store undead beings. He then gives Shenye a final instruction to raise his hand toward the tank and place him inside. As Shenye follows the instructions, he questions the skeleton, pointing out how suspicious he seems. After all, he was sent to assassinate an enemy leader, and now both elves and humans are after him. He then reminds the skeleton that he owes him for saving his life, so he expects full cooperation, especially since he has decided to enter their world. The skeleton is taken aback, shocked that Shenya would willingly step into the midst of the ongoing battle. However, after a brief hesitation, he agrees to help. Shenya knows that the skeleton is a battlefield scavenger, but the skeleton himself lacks confidence. He explains that the truly powerful items are always taken by enemies when their owners fall. Hearing this, Shenya formulates a plan. If he can disguise himself as an undead, he might be able to wander the battlefield undetected and hopefully earn a new title for himself. To make this possible, he asks the skeleton if he has any undead gear or a mask that can hide his human aura. The skeleton reveals his collection of war spoils, though most of it appears to be scraps. Still, he insists that Shenya dig through it and try to find something useful. After searching for a while, Shenya barely manages to piece together a full suit of armor. Along with it, he finds a horse token, which will allow him to summon a skeletal warhorse. Once his armor is complete, the skeleton hands him the centurion mask, imbued with a potent death aura. With it, one can fully disguise themselves as an undead. As soon as Shenya puts it on, his appearance transforms, his flesh vanishes, leaving behind the image of a skeletal warrior. The skeleton monster instructs him to try summoning the warhorse in the undead territory, if he's lucky. Hearing this, Shenya grins with excitement, joking that he might even earn a title like Ghost Rider or something. With everything prepared, he summons the gate, ready to step into the battlefield. Before walking through, he warns the skeleton that if he gets caught, they'll find the ring and completely doom them both. However, as he takes his first step forward, he declares that no matter what happens, he'll do his best. Inside the door, the place is completely trashed. Amid the rubble, Shenya remembers the dagger he picked up back in the Elven lands and decides to use it for extra protection. As he climbs over the debris, a group of human soldiers spots him. Mistaking him for an undead, they immediately threaten to kill him. Shenya is shocked to see them here, as this is supposed to be undead territory, and humans shouldn't be present. Quickly, Shenya removes his mask to show them that he is, in fact, human and not undead. However, this only enrages the human knight further, who raises his sword to attack Shenya, accusing him of being a traitor who sided with the undead. As the knight strikes, Shenya blocks the attack with his dagger. Seeing the dagger, the knight is momentarily surprised and refers to it as Nightshade. Suddenly, a nightmare notification window appears, detailing that the dagger is a human scout's dagger, a weapon only carried by trustworthy humans authorized to relay intelligence. This revelation is enough to make the soldiers trust Shenya. Instead of attacking him further, the knight helps Shenya up, dismissing the earlier hostility and ordering his men to continue their undead hunt. As Shenya gets to his feet, the knight makes a hand gesture, asking if Shenya needs any help. Shenya, noticing the gesture, realizes it resembles the sign for "I love you" from his previous world. He also notices the knight staring at his mask, making him wonder if the hand gesture has a hidden meaning in this world. Shenya decides to play along, bluffing his way through the situation. He mimics the hand gesture in return, claiming that he's in a bit of a bind and would appreciate any help they can offer. The knight, understanding Shenya's situation, hands him a solo combat pack, to which Shenya thanks him and asks for his name, promising to return the favor someday. The knight introduces himself as Roman. However, as they are talking, they hear another knight announcing that Baron is approaching, and everyone should make way for him. Suddenly, a nobleman on horseback arrives, rushing over and demanding to know why Roman is intentionally delaying the battle by standing around chatting with a boy. Roman denies the accusation, explaining that he encountered a scout outside the ruins of a secret passage. This makes Baron suspicious, and he immediately orders Shenya's arrest, calling him a spy. Roman defends Shenya, revealing that he is carrying a Nightshade dagger, which proves his legitimacy as a scout. Despite this, Baron remains suspicious and demands that Shenya explain his mission and purpose. Shenya, with a serious expression, counters by questioning Baron's identity and why he is interrogating him about his mission. Baron proudly introduces himself as a representative of the Southern Eagle's castle and warns Shenya that if he doesn't cooperate, he will strip him of his belongings and torture him to extract the truth. Seeing the guards closing in on him, Shenya takes out his dagger and calls Baron a sick freak, which enrages the nobleman. Baron orders all the guards to attack Shenya, but just in time, Shenya summons the door and vanishes in front of them, leaving only smoke and dust behind. This leaves the entire group in shock, wondering where Shenya just vanished to, as there were no secret passages or trapdoors in the area. One of the knights speculates that he's heard rumors of nameless assassins joining the battle, making Baron's bold announcement of his name seem reckless. This deeply worries Baron, as if a specially trained assassin, like the ones Roman mentioned, is involved. Targeting him would be effortless. Panicking, Baron orders his men to keep moving. Meanwhile, Shenya lands back in his room through the door, calling Baron a jerk for jumping on him like that. He then asks the skeleton monster in his ring about the hand signals, but the skeleton knows nothing about them. It simply reminds Shenya that, at the very least, he managed to get out in one piece. Suddenly, a title window appears, granting Shenya the One of Us title with an excellent rank. This title is awarded because he brilliantly outplayed his attackers. Another notification window reveals that if Shenya earns another One of Us title, he will receive an honorary title called Ordinary Human. With 3 consecutive One of Us titles, he will resonate with powerful forces, summoning a latent ability. Shenya is shocked by this revelation, realizing that if his next title is anything else, he will lose the chance to acquire the latent ability. The question now is, how can he earn the title? Shenya looks at his backpack and realizes that, based on the title's description, he needs to face insurmountable odds and use his wits and the environment to escape. Reflecting on the 2 scenarios where he earned the One of Us title, Shenya recalls being in deep enemy territory, facing life-or-death crisis, and ultimately outsmarting his enemies to escape. This makes him realize that he needs to replicate such situations, walking on eggshells while navigating extreme danger. However, he hesitates, as attempting this could be incredibly risky. For now, he decides to put the latent ability on hold. As he is deep in thought, his room lock notifies him that he has a visitor claiming to be from Sergeant Luo's family. The visitor has been verified by the group. A family member of Luo is a surprise, and Shenya knows he can't deny the meeting, as Luo died helping him. Shenya grants permission, and the lock reveals that the meeting has been arranged in the 50th floor lounge. There, Shenya meets a beautiful girl who introduces herself as Xiao, Luo's younger sister. Her title is Great Swordsman, and she is here to ask Shenya a few questions. Our boy is shocked to see Xiao's title, as he has never encountered anything like it before. Not even the elven high priest had such a title. This makes Shenya realize why Qian turned pale upon hearing her name. Xiao extends her hand and reveals that her brother, Luo, had tracked down the guy in the picture, but during their fight, his weapon malfunctioned, resulting in his death. According to her, the malfunction was caused by 2 classmates who tampered with it out of jealousy. With a cold expression, she states that she has already killed them all, which shocks Shenya. Qian had mentioned earlier that they captured the killer alive, but Xiao's words imply that she killed not only the assassin, but also the 2 boys who tampered with the weapon. Xiao confirms this, leaving Shenya stunned by how casually she reveals such information. She continues, explaining that her brother wasn't particularly talented, so she guided him toward a decent school, a job, and a wife to ensure he could live a safe and protected life. This surprises Shenya, as he had assumed Luo was a prodigy, but according to Xiao, he was a man of limited talent. As Xiao recounts Luo's story, she notices Shenya's silence and interprets it as him suggesting she should have let others bully her brother. Shenya nervously clarifies that he's simply wondering if she could get into trouble for killing them. However, Xiao, like Shenya, comes from a noble family, so no one dares to question her actions, even after she killed those involved. Xiao adds that she took her name from her mother's family and reveals that she interrogated the assassin before killing him, but he didn't know who hired him or why. With the assassin and the others dead, the trail has gone cold, which is why she is here to ask Shenya if he has any idea who might have hired the assassins. Shenya, however, has no clue either and questions if it isn't enough that she has already killed all those people. For Xiao, it's not enough. Drawing her katana, she declares her determination to find the mastermind behind her brother's death and eliminate everyone involved. As she speaks, Xiao swings her sword, sending out a slash so powerful that it cuts the cloudy sky in half. Shenya is left in shock as he didn't even see her draw her sword, yet she performed such an incredible feat. After her display, Xiao requests Shenya to think carefully about whether he has made enemies with any noble families. If he has, she offers her help at any time. However, Shenyi's family doesn't get along with his own clan, and whenever he visits, he only spends time with a few kids his age, so he hasn't offended anyone. Suddenly, he remembers hearing terrified screams during his first attack in the hospital, suggesting there might have been witnesses. Seeing the hope in Shenya's words, Xiao immediately claims she will look into it and inform him if she finds anything. With that, she hands Shenya her contact information and leaves. As she departs, Shenya notices Qian, who has been standing right beside them the entire time. Qian is amazed by Xiao's slash and admits that he thought she might harm Shenya over her brother's death. But it seems everything turned out fine. He explains that Xiao is the most talented member of the Luo family in the current generation and is taking the high school entrance exam this year, putting her in the same grade as Shenya. This shocks Shenya, but Qian assures him that noble families receive advanced training and have access to resources that make them stronger than others. He adds that if Shenya had grown up in the Shen clan, he would likely be just as strong. Shenya, however, remains calm and yawns, claiming he needs to go back to sleep. Back in his room, Shenya grows frustrated, wondering if the assassin might be connected to a noble family, as hiring a strong assassin requires significant wealth, something noble families possess. Realizing this, Shenya knows he needs to learn offensive skills as soon as possible, as he can't always rely on Xiao to have his back. Getting up, he asks the skeleton if it still has the nightmare crystal that grants abilities. However, the skeleton only has undead abilities that require soulfire, which Shenya might not be able to use. This makes Shenya question how he was able to acquire the Moonlit Deerwalk skill from the crystal last time, but the skeleton has no answer for that. Let the man live peacefully. Stop bugging him. He's already bones. Shenya knows he doesn't have time to waste. He needs to acquire an offensive skill, not only for self-defense but also for the upcoming exams, where he'll be competing against strong noble kids. Suddenly, he remembers the combat pack Roman gave him in the nightmare door. He starts going through it, finding rations and first aid supplies. But luckily, he also discovers a nightmare crystal inside. As he absorbs it, a message appears, instructing him to drop the intel at the Shadowhand Brotherhood. The skeleton mocks Shenya, joking that Roman might have mistaken him for a Shadowhand member. Shenya, realizing he can't earn a new title since he already has one, decides to focus on finding loot instead. He asks the skeleton where it found the Centurion mask, but the skeleton can't recall clearly, claiming it was somewhere near the secret passage. Shenya knows the human army has taken over that area, so he needs to infiltrate it disguised as a human soldier. He asks the skeleton if it has any gear for such a mission. The skeleton provides him with Rhine Borderlands soldier armor, complete with their hound insignia. It explains that since the Rhine humans were wiped out, no one will question a survivor like him. The skeleton also hands Shenya a crystal, claiming it's a letter from the Rhine Lord, which will serve as a token if he gets into trouble. As Shenya prepares to walk through the door, he knows the skeleton didn't help him without a demand. He asks about it, and the skeleton, with a sad tone, reveals that it wants Shenya to grow stronger in the nightmare so he can later acquire higher-tier items to heal its injuries. Shenya agrees to the deal and steps through the door. He arrives at a gruesome battlefield where human soldiers lie wounded and dead all around. The remaining soldiers are desperately trying to save their comrades, carrying them to the base camp for medical attention. Shenya observes the scene from behind a tree, knowing he can't act rashly, as there are still soldiers on the battlefield who might recognize him. With so many bodies scattered around, Shenya thinks this might be his chance to gather some intel. However, Shenya is stunned when he sees an undead giant standing behind him. He activates the Talking to the Dead skill and asks the giant if he knows anything about the mask. The giant reveals he doesn't. Leaving the giant, Shenya rushes toward other fallen undead soldiers, but none of them have seen the mask either. Shenya grows frustrated, feeling like he's searching for a needle in a haystack. Then he is shocked to see a werewolf soldier lying nearby. Knowing that werewolves have an incredible sense of smell, Shenya asks the werewolf, referring to it as Doggy, if it has smelled or seen anything about the mask. The werewolf points him toward a centurion whose only remaining body part on the battlefield is an arm. The werewolf also corrects Shenya, stating firmly that it is a wolf, not a dog. "My boy misidentified a wolf. Cancel him." Shenya thanks the werewolf and walks over to the arm. The skeleton speculates that the poor centurion might have been directly hit by a heavy magic attack. However, the important question is whether Shenya can use his Talking to the Dead ability on just an arm. As he activates the skill, the hand gives the same gesture Shenya saw Roman make earlier. This confirms that the arm belongs to the mask's owner. After the gesture, the hand points toward its shoes. As Shenya picks up the boot, the smell inside begins to drain his strength. But he is surprised to find a piece of paper and an item hidden within it. As he pulls them out, a notification window appears, informing him that he has gained enough experience to unlock the auxiliary ability Item Lore, allowing him to view detailed descriptions. Using this new ability on the round token, he discovers its name, Night Shadow Insignia, an exceptional rank artifact capable of activating specific weapons. Intrigued, Shenya takes out his dagger, and the insignia instantly fuses with it, upgrading it from Night Sage to Nightfall. All of its stats increase, and in this advanced form, only high-ranking assassins may wield it. Excited by his newfound power, he then turns his attention to the letter he retrieved. The letter is from the Shadowhand, offering a generous reward in exchange for intel on unusual undead activity. Shenya immediately recalls that the crystal Roman gave him contained instructions on how to reach the Shadowhand's camp. Realizing this mission is easy work for him, he decides to use his Talking to the Dead skill on a nearby undead, questioning it about any strange undead activity. However, after interrogating several corpses, he finds that none of them know the reason behind the recent battle. They were merely soldiers following orders. Frustrated, Shenya is about to give up when a skeletal monster steps forward, offering information. While excited, he remains wary. After all, this skeleton is practically spying on its own kind. The skeleton, however, scoffs at the idea of loyalty, revealing that the undead may be his people, but they have always treated him as an outcast. With that settled, the skeleton asks if Shenya is looking for earth-shattering intel or just run-of-the-mill information. Not wanting to get involved in a complicated investigation, Shenya opts for decent-level intel that will still earn him a good reward. The skeleton reveals that the undead army has started enhancing their artillery with new components, significantly increasing both firepower and firing speed. Shenya worries that this might be too valuable, but the skeleton assures him that the human side likely already suspects it. They just need confirmation. Satisfied, Shenya sets off toward the Shadowhand's main camp. Once there, he faces a new challenge, finding a way inside. The skeleton suggests pretending to be a wounded soldier so that the humans will bring him in. Finding the idea clever, Shenya then inquires about the quality of medical care on both sides of the battlefield. According to the skeleton, the humans possess the best healing magic, but it comes at a high price. Those with enough gold can even regrow lost limbs. In contrast, the undead simply discard their wounded, and the only way to restore them is through a sacrificial ritual, a process that requires a high-ranking undead with the right knowledge. Realizing he is broke, Shenya hatches a plan. He approaches the massive giant's hammer, reallocates all his stat points into strength, and without hesitation, lifts the weapon high. The skeleton, confused, watches as Shenya suddenly slams the hammer onto himself, coughing up blood from the impact. The skeleton stares at him in disbelief, wondering why is he going this far for such a minor role. Shenya smirks through the pain and reveals his plan. He's playing dead. Then, with all his remaining strength, he scratches a shield with a nearby stone, crying out for help. His pained shouts draw the attention of nearby human soldiers. As they rush over, gathering more reinforcements, Shenya knows that his plan is working. At the camp, a healer uses her spell to treat Shenya while a group of nobles stands beside him. Once the healing is complete, they dismiss the healer, assuring her that her payment will be delivered soon. As Shenya regains consciousness, a noble helps him sit up, reassuring him that he is safe within the human camp. Noticing his shield, the noble asks if he is from Rhine. Introducing himself as Prince Norton, he watches as Shenya pulls out the crystal, his hands trembling in feigned terror. With a desperate voice, Shenya pleads for help, claiming that Rhine is being invaded by the undead. The prince and a nearby mage take the crystal and begin deciphering its contents. It carries a message from Lord Lawrence of Rhine, requesting aid in exchange for gold coins and land. The mage, confident that the voice and crystal are authentic, confirms its legitimacy. This convinces Prince Norton that Shenya truly hails from Rhine. With a heavy sigh, the prince reveals that Rhine has already fallen, and that Shenya is its sole survivor. Shenya feigns shock and begins to cry loudly, calling out random names to mourn his fallen comrades. The prince sympathizes with him, calling it a miracle that Shenya survived the stone hammer of an undead giant. He assures Shenya that he will be transported to the Empire's rear lines, where he can live in safety, and advises him to rest and recover. However, Shenya grows anxious. He doesn't need rest. He needs to find the Shadowhand's tent and report the intel to gain new techniques. Thinking quickly, he acts bravely and confidently, requesting the prince to let him fight on the battlefield to avenge his people and drive out the undead. The nobles and soldiers, impressed by his courage, are amazed, and even the prince praises him for his bravery. The prince asks if Shenya possesses any special skills. Shenya lies, claiming to be the fastest person in all of Rhine. To demonstrate, he devours his One of Us title, allocating all his points into agility, which now reaches a staggering 9.9. In a flash, he darts out of the tent, rushing past every tent in the camp and returning to his original position in the blink of an eye. Breathing heavily, he asks the prince what he thinks, to which the prince calls him an astonishing child. Suddenly, the elf noble notices Shenya's bracelet and asks where it is from. Prince Norton also observes its elven craftsmanship and questions its origin. Shenya reveals that an elf named Lane gave it to him. Upon hearing this, the elf noble, Eudoria, the archmage of the royal court, channels a spell into the bracelet and summons Lane. As Lane appears before them through magic, Eudoria asks her if she indeed gave the bracelet to Shenya. Lane notices Shenya and excitedly greets him, asking when he will visit their village again. Shenya nervously greets her in return, inquiring about the magic trick he had performed earlier. However, Eudoria interrupts, pressing Lane to answer her question about the bracelet. Lane reveals everything that happened, and this confirmation satisfies Eudoria, who ends the summoning spell. Eudoria places her hand on Shenya's shoulder, expressing confidence in him. She remarks that he possesses all the necessary attributes, has survived calamities, and even has connections with the elves. She suggests that Shenya should be sent to the imperial capital to study, as it is rare for an elf to approve of a human. The prince agrees with her proposal and orders his men to make the necessary arrangements. When the prince asks for Shenya's full name, Shenya realizes he doesn't know Rhine's customs or naming conventions, so he needs to fabricate something to avoid blowing his cover. Suddenly, he grabs his head and begins screaming loudly. The mage steps forward, explaining that Shenya must have suffered head trauma, resulting in memory loss. The prince, concerned, suggests that Shenya rest to recover. As he leaves, he refers to Shenya as the boy who lived through calamities. At that moment, a notification window appears, granting Shenya the title, The Boy Who Lived. Shenya is furious about the title, unsure how to get rid of it. Since it is a self-created title, it requires continuous recognition and spread to solidify. To discard it, Shenya has two options: either disappear from the public eye or act in direct contrast to what the title suggests. Shenya decides to disappear for a while after completing his current mission. As everyone leaves, Shenya asks Skeleton about his boosted reputation after merely speaking to the prince. Skeleton explains that the prince is the eldest son of the royal family, the heir to the throne, and the one handling most of the war efforts. His recognition carries significant weight, which is why Shenya's reputation has increased so quickly. Meanwhile, as the prince and his nobles depart, the mage reveals that Shenya is carrying a Shadow Hand insignia, an impressive achievement for someone so young. Eudoria also notices the insignia on Shenya's dagger, and the prince confirms its presence, further solidifying their intrigue about Shenya's background and capabilities. According to the prince, only high-ranking assassins carry the Shadow Hand insignia, and obtaining it requires otherworldly talent. Impressed, the prince orders his men to nominate Shenya for a Medal of Valor in his name. After some searching, Shenya finds the Shadow Hand tent. Walking inside, he sees a bald man busy with his bear fur. Shenya calls for his attention and shows a specific hand gesture. The man responds with a gesture of his own, asking what Shenya has brought. Shenya throws the crystal toward him, revealing that he retrieved it from the undead soulfire cannons, and asks if the man noticed them growing stronger. The bald man catches the crystal and inquires what Shenya wants in return for the intel. Shenya simply asks, "What does he have?" The man pulls out a tactical camouflage dagger, used by assassins to fake death by licking its special poison. Shenya examines it but doesn't seem impressed and asks if there's anything else. The bald man uses a whistle and suddenly a horse appears and drops dead on the ground. He explains that the whistle is used to make horses play dead. Shenya realizes it could be paired with the dagger but remains unimpressed. He asks for something else, prompting the bald man to reveal a veil-piercing lens that allows the wearer to see through clothes, revealing valuables and money on a person. Shenya still isn't satisfied and requests a nightmare crystal. The bald man reveals he only has two left due to war shortages. The first one is bleeding, which grants the user a skill that causes endless bleeding and can be applied to swords or daggers. The second is Frostwind, which, when fused, gives the user a kickback technique that sends enemies and their weapons flying. As Shenya contemplates his choice, the mysterious voice from before reappears, urging him to take Frostwind. Shenya realizes that the voice speaking to him is the same one that guided him at the start and gifted him the Nightshade dagger. Curious, he asks why it chose Frostwind for him. The mysterious voice reveals that the spell is not from their world. It then explains that Shenya must acquire the Undead's Shadow Mirage spell and the Beast Lord's Thunderclap spell. Once he combines them with Deerwalk and Frostwind, he will uncover a powerful secret. Excitement surges through Shenya at the revelation, and without hesitation, he claims Frostwind. As he absorbs the spell, the Baldy offers him even more, claiming that its information is worth far more than just Frostwind. However, Shenya doesn't need anything else at the moment, so the merchant compensates him with gold coins to cover the difference. Before leaving, Shenya turns to the skeleton and asks if he can obtain an undead ability, specifically Shadow Mirage. The skeleton immediately denies the request, reminding him that undead abilities require soul fire. However, he then questions how Shenya even knows the skill's name. Shenya brushes off the question and asks again if the skeleton has it or not. The skeleton confirms that he does, but clarifies that Shadow Mirage is merely an illusion spell, one that requires sufficient agility and psychic energy to cast. Checking the ability's requirements, Shenya sees that it demands 3 points of psychic energy and 5 points of agility. Since he has 9 points available for allocation, he quickly redistributes them to meet the criteria. Finding a secluded spot, he activates Shadow Mirage, and a ghostly illusion of himself flickers into existence. However, aside from giving someone a brief scare, the skill seems nearly useless. The skeleton bursts into laughter, mocking Shenya for expecting something greater. Still, despite its apparent lack of power, Shenya feels a spark of excitement. He now possesses 3 of the required skills. Only Thunderclap remains. He wonders what will happen once he collects them all. As he emerges from the jungle, a soldier greets him, presenting him with the Medal of Valor, along with a letter of recommendation. Internally confused by the gesture, Shenya nonetheless accepts the honor respectfully, promising to work hard to serve the nation. The soldier then informs him that he can travel with the troops to the military academy, or go alone. but he must present the letter upon arrival. Additionally, the soldier hands him extra coins, enough to cover his living expenses in the area. Since Shenyi's goal is to compete there, he returns to his world and exchanges the gold he received. It turns out to be 65,000 wen, which is transferred into a designated account. Grateful for the exchange, Shenyi thanks the staff before receiving an unexpected call from Xiao. She is shocked, demanding to know why he sent her such a large sum of money. Shenyi reassures her that he earned it by joining the human martial arts group and, since he doesn't need that much to live on, she can keep it. After ending the call, Shenyi checks his messages and is surprised to find an overwhelming number of them. Many people are congratulating him on his acceptance into the human martial arts group, and his parents express their pride. However, the most unexpected message comes from Zhao. She is apologizing and asking him out on a date, even attaching a picture of herself. Unmoved, Shenyi rejects her outright, making it clear that she will never have him. As he scrolls further, he notices a message from his friend, Chen, congratulating him on his acceptance and inviting him to celebrate that night. Shenyi wants to go out with Chen, but a lingering concern holds him back. The League of Assassins is still after him. Though the original owner of this body is gone, Shenyi still feels a deep, genuine bond with Chen and wants to cherish their friendship. Just then, another message arrives from Chen himself, asking if he can visit the human martial arts building since he has never seen it from the inside. Since visitors are now allowed, Shenyi agrees and asks Chen to meet him in the lobby. In the lobby, Shenyi is slightly taken aback by the presence of various professionals, each exuding an extraordinary and intimidating aura. As he observes them, a large fatty notices him and asks if he is a newbie. Shenyi quickly apologizes, thinking he might have been staring, but the man chuckles and reassures him, saying it's fine. After all, they also used to be in awe of professionals when they first joined. Hearing this, Shenyi curiously asks if the man had always wanted to become like them. However, the man's expression darkens, and with a dreaded look, he confesses that he once saw them as arrogant and wanted nothing more than to tear them apart. Shenyi begins to understand. All the professionals here flaunt their power in an unconcealed and overwhelming manner. As they talk, a cowboy-dressed woman arrives. The fatty immediately starts flirting with her, but she swiftly pulls out a revolver and presses it against his face, warning him not to harass her. Intimidated, the man quickly retreats. The woman then turns to Shenyi, informing him that a boy named Chen is asking for him. Shenyi confirms that Chen is his friend and asks her to let him in. Hearing this, the woman nods and leaves to get Chen, casually revealing that Qian has given them special instructions to ensure Shenyi's safety, as assassins are after him. As soon as Chen arrives, he excitedly starts rambling about how amazing the building is. Shenyi reassures him that he's welcome to visit any time. Chen, still thrilled, teases that Shenyi is bound to become popular at school. However, Shenyi, remaining nonchalant, redirects the focus back to their original plan, to grab something to eat at the cafeteria. Chen eagerly agrees. As they step into the elevator, they find a few people already inside. Ignoring them, they select their destination, the 105th floor. As the elevator ascends, Shenyi's phone buzzes with a message from Xiao. She claims to have discovered that a maid once reported something unusual happening to him back at the hospital, but the maid has since gone missing. Xiao also attaches a video showing a mysterious man entering the nurse's ward. According to Xiao, the maid might have been silenced by assassins, and the shocking part? The man in the video is Chen. Xiao further explains that this individual was acting extremely suspicious at school yesterday morning, as if searching for something. Shenyi, glancing at Chen who is standing right in front of him, tries to process the situation. Could Chen have been looking for him at school? It makes sense. Shenyi remembers being inside the nightmare door at the time. But why would Chen be searching the entire building for him? As Shenyi, deep in thought, continues staring at Chen, Chen notices his gaze and asks if something is wrong. After a tense few minutes, the elevator reaches the 105th floor, and Chen excitedly steps out, exclaiming how insane it is that Shane gets to be in such a cool place every day. He eagerly asks Shane to show him his room, to which Shane reveals that it's at the end of the hall. As Shane walks toward it, Chen suddenly turns and hurls a poisoned pen at him, striking his forehead. Blood splatters everywhere, only to vanish moments later. It was just an illusion. Chen is stunned. How did a kid learn such an advanced martial arts technique so quickly? Before he can react, a powerful kick smashes into his face, sending him crashing to the ground. It's Shane, wielding his Frostwind spell and amplifying his abilities by allocating stats. By combining his techniques, he has unlocked a secret skill, Moonlit Technique, guaranteeing a knockback effect. Engulfed in immense energy, Shane demands to know the whereabouts of his friend, Chen. Suddenly, a notification window appears, announcing that his body has undergone extraordinary refinement, increasing his stats. The figure who looks like Chen picks himself up, laughing, his half-exposed face revealing his true identity. He smirks and declares that the real Chen has red hair. Without warning, he lunges at Shane with full force, but Shane dodges effortlessly and counters with a swift kick. The assassin blocks it with his forearms, but he isn't prepared for the guaranteed knockback, which sends him skidding backward. Shane realizes this is exactly what the mysterious voice had hinted at. His combined spells have unlocked a secret technique. Determined, Shane keeps firing at the assassin, but the enemy skillfully dodges every bullet, mocking Shane for his terrible aim. Eventually, Shane's gun clicks empty. He tosses it behind him as the AI security system alerts the authorities about gunfire on the 105th floor. At that moment, a barrage of bullets tears through the assassin, severing his arms and legs. The attack comes from the furious cowboy lady, who glares at the dying man. She's enraged that the skin shift technique even fooled her and that he managed to smuggle a weapon inside the building. Pinning him against the wall, she demands answers. Despite her injuries, the assassin remains silent. Then, without hesitation, he bites down on a hidden poison capsule in his molar, ending his own life. The cowboy lady sighs in frustration, muttering that she has never encountered anyone who mastered skin shift so flawlessly that even she and the security systems failed to detect it. She worries that killing the assassin has eliminated any potential leads, though she holds on to the hope that the autopsy might uncover something useful. Beside her, Shane remains silent, careful not to provoke her further. He has no intention of drawing the ire of someone so clearly enraged.